Welcome back to The Edge. Another search engine hopeful bites the dust. There's a huge fine for Meta in the EU. TikTok bans have started in the US, just one state so far, and Google's AI regulation wish list. You're listening to News from The Edge for the week of May 22nd, 2023, here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
All right, hey, we're back with The Edge this week. This is Edge of the Web Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Aaron Sparks, your host. We're covering the SEO and digital marketing news of the week. That's separate from our interview series that we do each and every week, talking to some fantastic thought leaders from around the planet. Be sure to check out all the things at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. The title sponsor for this episode is Site Strategics. We're proud to have Site Strategics as the proud sponsor of Edge of the Web. I'm very proud of my team here at Site. We're one of the top SEOs in our area, and we're consummate learners, thus this show. So we're constantly learning what's happening in the digital marketing space and using it for the advantage of our clients. So if you're interested in what we can do for you, just give us a shout at 877-736-4932. All right, joining me this week to get her take on the news is Judith Lewis. She's the founder of Decabit Consulting, a chocolate and wine expert, and speaks of all the things. Judith, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me and all the things.
Yeah, well, you know, Morty's away this week, and he recommended we speak to you, and he's feeling a little bit puny today, but do you think he'll make it?
Well, I don't know.
It would be a miracle.
It might be, yes. It would take a miracle. Let's see if we can get a hold of Miracle Max, the miracle worker.
There we go. Boy, I completely botched that line, didn't I? All right, Judith, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in search for over a quarter of a century. I speak at conferences.
And you still haven't found it?
I know, I'm still looking. It's just, you know, it's a constant effort. There's just no satisfaction in what I'm doing. It's just constantly looking.
Yep, absolutely.
Is it there? I don't know.
She's just wandering behind the scenes on stage at different locations. Like, where do you speak regularly?
I don't speak regularly anywhere, really. I MC in orbit regularly, but I speak around the world. I'll be back at Barbados SEO. I'm going to be at SEO on the beach. There's a theme to
yes,
this,
there really is. I see there's an ulterior motive here.
Alcohol and sun.
I was never told SEO on the beach was an option.
Well, you know,
What that one?
Order that one from the bartender.
Yeah.
I saw some
further than Barbados, though. It's in Spain.
Yeah,
so
keep on going.
Far.
I saw some of Barry Adams' pictures from SEO in Barbados, and the rum was a flowing there.
Oh, I loved, Barbados SEO is amazing. I won a ticket, didn't have to be there as a speaker as well, so I could just drink
there we go.
the entire time I was there. They made their own rum. The house had their own rum line as well. So what could be better than that kind of conference? And it's happening again, and this time I actually have to put the work in. Got to do a talk. I think I'm talking on semantic SEO or something like that. I pitched a lot of things to try to guarantee a spot.
But by the time the rum flows, is it really gonna matter?
You know what? I might just, submit my paper ahead of time for a peer review and sit on the beach and by the pool. There's a lovely pool at the conference venue and just relax.
Understood. Well, we'll be pining for that particular experience. Who knows? Maybe we can get down there in the foreseeable future. But what's not happening in the foreseeable future is Neva. How about that for a segue?
Really disappointed.
I'm sorry. Over at the Verge, Neva, the would-be Google competitor, is shutting down its search engine. Neva, which was for a while, it looked like they were one of the startups that had a real chance to challenge the supremacy of Google search, announced on Saturday that it was shutting down its search engine. The company says that it was pivoting to AI and potential acquisition of Snowflake. The information actually reported. Building search engines is hard, said the co-founders of Neva. It seemed promising as the longtime head of Google's ad business. few people were actually better equipped to know how to build and monetize search. But Neva did it, and they built a good competitive search platform. It went well ahead of Google in some aspects, like swapping 10 blue links for more visual page and emphasizing human-created content. Well, isn't that interesting? That's exactly what's happening right now on the Googlescape. So they've actually decided to shut down their doors, pivot to AI, which is actually very interesting because right now is probably the prime time for search engine startup to be able to actually challenge Google. That said, they've made their decision. They had to contend with the billion-dollar deals Google signs to make itself the default search engine on devices everywhere, the huge "are you sure you want to change" pop-ups and the like. Unfortunately, they are going to be shutting their doors here. There was a bit of a clamor of SEOs over the weekend about Neva shutting down. Judith, what's your thoughts regarding Neva and any other aspiring search engine right now?
Honestly, I'm really disappointed that they didn't make it. I would love to see a proper Google contender. However, I have a degree in psychology, and if there's one thing I know, it's hard to get people to change their habits.
Absolutely.
People are creatures of habits. SEOs are creatures of habit. SEOs are loath to change their techniques, let alone lawyers and accountants and things like that. But
Yep.
we all have to stay on top of things. And Neva had a really good model, and I think visual search is absolutely the way to go. But getting people to swap, I know the whole paid side of things could have maybe introduced a stumbling block, but
Mm-hmm.
the habit. We actually use Google as a way of indicating that we are going to search for something on the internet.
Yeah.
And it is going to be hard for any search engine to overcome that. In fact, Google's own spin-off is going to face that kind of headwind. So it's not just the competitors out there, but Google's own spin-off that is going to be attempting to steal some of that search traffic, so to speak,
Absolutely.
is going to face the same headwind.
It's hard to dislodge a verb from a branded standpoint. Bing had the biggest opportunity, and they're pushing hard to be able to actually capitalize on AI, capitalize on the visual aspects, capitalize on the narrative that is with ChatGPT. So we're seeing a whole paradigm shift. We really are. You just hope that a company like that would have stayed around for the ride because this was their opportunity. But who knows? Who knows that they were able to maybe cash in very well on what they'd actually created. You'd hope so, right?
Well, I hope they did get something out of it because I think that their technology really pushed things and advanced where we are
Mm-hmm.
to where we are about to be, and hopefully got people thinking, not people as in searchers, but people as in developers
Yeah.
and UX UI people over at Google thinking a little differently. I do like the direction Bing's going. There was another search engine I was a huge fan of because of the visual element to their search results for a while. Sadly, war has changed things and they slipped back a little bit on their development, but I'm loving the move towards visual because
Mm-hmm.
that's my psychology degree, the way that people relate to the world.
Absolutely.
And it will make it easier for people to find what they're looking for.
And the immersive aspect and to be able to choose your own adventure type of a methodology that we're starting to see here. Yeah, the pictorial side of things, we're constantly talking about this behind the scenes here over at Site, and we see content boiling down to almost pictographs, right? And that's the common tongue, regardless of dialect, is that if we can actually have that space where we can share imagery and get a point across, I mean, that's semantic SEO right there. I mean, it's a relationship of ideas and concepts, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's true now as it was then.
Yep.
And I think that visually we are better able to relate what we're seeing to our own sense of what we're wanting to find or whatever match up with much more easily than words. Words can be challenging. I'm dyslexic. Words are challenging for me. I read patterns,
Mm-hmm.
not actual letters, and other people might have problems with written language. They
Right.
might not have learned written language. And so it makes it a lot easier for them to navigate the world through pictures rather than language and text. And that's no shade on other people. It's just a much easier way to help communicate with
Yeah.
other people is the original language pictographs.
There you go. There you go. That's an entire can of worms right there. We certainly do appreciate it. And we also have some discussions regarding AI and how that actually works into the equation here. But I wanted to pivot here to a Wall Street Journal article here from Sam Schickner. Meta is fined 1.3 billion with a B over data transfers to the US. Facebook owner Meta Platforms was fined 1.3 billion by the European Union regulators for sending user information to the U.S., a record privacy penalty for the block. Previously, there was another penalty of like 748 million. These numbers are astronomical. The ruling actually raises pressure on the U.S. government to complete a deal that would allow Meta and thousands of multinational companies to keep sending such information stateside. The size of the fine also underscores the increasing risks of running afoul, says Schechner, of EU's privacy rules and its enforcement. Privacy is huge internationally, and the data keeps on streaming back and forth. I got a question for you, Judith. Do you think with the revenue that Facebook incurs regularly, that 1.3 billion is a cost of continuing to actually do this, or are they going to pull back and participate in the type of regulation that the EU is trying to get across? That's their policies, but is this the cost of doing business now?
Difficult to say because I'm going to make a statement that's going to sound bold, but Europe is only 1/4 of their business. However,
Mm-hmm.
Europe is 1/4 of their business. And if it becomes prohibitively expensive to actually run the business there, they have to completely change the way they save data, they model everything. It could result in them rethinking whether that quarter of their business is actually worth it
Mm.
when they're making much more money in other countries
Yep.
and other regions of the world. I would like to suggest that that this is it's not spurious, but it's not good faith prosecution, because I think that it is all hinged on the fact that one little piece of legislation wasn't signed through. One thing
Wow.
hasn't been signed yet, and they've got this massive fine on the back of that. And yes, it's because they're worried about EU citizens' data being able to be accessed by the US without any right to oppose or you know, roll that back and get their information deleted. But
Mm-hmm.
have you ever tried to delete your Facebook account? I mean, it's almost impossible anyway. So
That's the
seems
truth.
slightly seems slightly overblown, but the EU are very serious about privacy, and we are here in the UK as well. I'm Canadian. I know I sound like I'm not from the EU, but I am here in in Europe. We're not in the EU anymore, and they do take data privacy seriously.
Yes, they
And
do.
people who run Google Analytics without the right cookie consent get sued. So I understand it, but I don't think it'll stick. I think it'll go to appeal. I think by the time it gets through appeal, the legislation will be signed. It therefore will be moot at that point. You can argue that maybe they should have the fine, but the legislation changes. It's no longer applicable. Boom, fine goes away. But it's a way of pressuring
Oh yeah,
things to
absolutely.
happen.
I mean, this fine is actually smaller than the $5 billion penalty in 2019. The Federal Trade Commission actually put against Meta for their consumer privacy violations. So it pales in comparison, so to speak. But I mean, these are huge numbers, and comes with it a huge importance to represent the consumers correctly. And all things being equal, they have been absconding with data for a very long time. So they're paying the price, obviously. And you're right, is that as soon as they sign certain legislation, those potential fines can go away. On the other side, Meta actually had a response. They said that this decision is flawed, unjustified, and sets a dangerous precedent for the countless other companies transferring data between the EU and US. That they said in a blog posting regarding the decision.
Absolutely, yes. And if you think about it, our data is not stored in the cloud in some theoretical space. It's in a physical server space. And we know this, and what can happen when the server racks, I think in Germany, caught fire,
Yep.
and it destroyed terabytes upon terabytes of data, some which was never recoverable because the backup was in the same data
Facility.
warehouse.
That makes sense.
Yeah. As you would,
God.
we're going to back it up. It'll be safe, right? What?
Yeah, right over there, right down the hall. Yeah, and
It's in the other room, though. It should have been
it's
fine.
safe. Yeah,
So
exactly.
we know it's physically stored somewhere. So it can be accessed without your knowledge by somebody accessing the facility. But there are facilities in Europe as well as the US. So it may take a lot, well, it will take a lot of recoding the way that things happen. But theoretically, that data could be stored in an EU facility. However, they would need to be larger and better accessible.
Completely agree. I'm certain that we're going to be seeing future penalties as well as big tech continues wrangle with regulatory, say that sentence 5 times fast, continues to wrangle with regulatory rules. How about that? There we go.
Wow, very good.
By the seashore.
Excellent.
By the seashore. All right. Hey, we're proud to have Site Strategics as a sponsor of Edge of the Web. Our firm is a 19-year-old digital marketing firm here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Our specialties are technical SEO, entity SEO, search engine marketing, management, as well as social media communication for your business. Always focus on conversion rate optimization, results-based marketing that actually works. We've also developed a very unique omni-channel media marketing and content curation process guided by our weekly R&D here on The Edge. We incorporate some of the best techniques for content broadcast, strategy, and execution. If you're interested in what we can do for you, just give us a call over at 877-SEO for Web or 877-736-4932. Okay, here's something that I've been scratching my head about this one. Over at CNN story, and we're doing a few outside lanes of our regular destination of content here, but check this out. Over at CNN, the Montana governor bans TikTok. Giaforte tweeted that he has banned TikTok in Montana to protect Montanans' personal and private data from the Chinese Communist Party, officially making it the first state to ban the social media application. So he's saying, you're not going to be able to use TikTok in my state. I got one question. What is that one question, Jacob?
I don't know. What is your one question?
How are they going to ban?
Sure, that was going to be,
That was going to be it. Yeah,
that was going to be one of my questions.
You were right on top of that.
No,
right?
I didn't know that was your question because it was my question.
I had it first.
How do you enforce this?
How do you enforce this?
It's got to be geolocation, keeping it out of the App Store.
Boom. Well, I mean, you got VPN out there.
Yeah.
But it does. How in the world are you going to ban statewide app installation?
Right. Well, that's
with an interstate type of technology. Any type of carrier is interstate. They don't have IPs. They have IPs associated to states by a geographic location, but things shift all the time. So you're not in the same state. How in the world are they actually going to keep the apps from installing? And maybe I'm a rube at this. Maybe there is some lockdown that you can lock out Rhode Island. TikTok cannot be in Rhode Island, right?
Would it be similar to like when you can't get on certain TV channels?
Sure.
In an area, so like, would it be on the carrier to provide? Anything going to TikTok inside of Montana, we block it. So you could still get on through a VPN, and then they wouldn't have to worry about or maybe even we'll even let you download the app. It just won't work.
So are you saying that the carriers already have that in existence that can actually allow certain apps going through their data streams?
I would assume
I'm being more rhetorical than anything else. You know,
that just seems like the easiest way to do it. Because if I run an ISP and I only service Montana, or if I service Montana in 2 other states, I still know everyone's address.
Yeah.
So, your address is Montana? No TikTok for you.
So regardless of the whole discussion of privacy and freedom of speech, because that's what has really been happening since that particular declaration, people are all over the governor for limiting people's freedom of speech in that state. I'm more wondering how in the world does this technology actually work that you can tamp that down at a state level? And I don't know if you have the answer to that question, Judith, but this was really rattling around in my brain.
Oh, I mean, we could rely on some technology that is in use in the People's Republic of China right now to do that. I'm sure that was what was on his mind.
He's hiring a third party in China to watch IP traffic.
Oh, you see that balloon up there?
Balloon-based.
It's balloon-based.
Balloon-based blocking. BBB.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Just
Lord.
having a little weather balloons floating over Montana.
Dropping apps from the sky.
I feel sorry for the cows that are being tracked. All of their data will no longer be being sent to China. I mean, really, what are they going to send to China? You should put grease on your brakes if they're squeaky, is one of the TikTok videos I saw. Really? I don't mind if people in China get this information because I feel like their roads are chaotic enough as it is. Add some greased brake.
Yeah. See how that works out for you.
It'll be fine.
Oh, my Lord.
I think the thing that continues to bother me about the whole TikTok thing is it's just singling out this one company. And I guarantee you that snap your fingers and they're gone. China could just buy all this data from every game that everyone downloads, from all these places that sell this data.
It's a red herring.
Yeah,
it
you
really
run
is.
it through a shell corporation, whatever. Start a company in America called I'mStealingYourData.com and just pay for it and take it. Like, it's not. You need to know what your apps are taking.
Yep.
And where you want that to go or not go, and then decide on yourself.
You're absolutely right.
There's no other way
Yeah,
around it.
it's political gesturing or posturing, I should say. And if you look at the vote was almost split. It is extremely close. And I think the Montana governor did it to see if he could force the hand of other states or be like, hey, look at me, I'm doing something about the bad Chinese.
Anybody think he may be going for a presidential run?
I was going to say, it's a campaign thing, too. I don't know where he is in his terms if he can run for re-election as governor. But, like, what a great thing. Like, I tried to, keep the communists out of Montana. Like, what a easy thing to run on.
Well, the irony is he probably is going to run a TikTok ad campaign in Montana because of that.
He's going to have to.
Are you seeing this? You shouldn't. You won't when I'm governor again or when I'm president.
All right, so that's a great article over at CNN, which I rarely say in one sentence. But going over to Search Engine Journal from Roger Monti, talking about regulation. Google policy agenda reveals AI regulation wish list. Google's AI policy agenda largely ignores open source AI because obviously that's their contender out there and focuses on limiting restraints on innovation. So Google published an AI policy agenda paper that outlines a vision for responsible deployment of AI and suggests how governments should regulate and encourage the industry. Wow. Hey, Google's going to actually give us some guidance here.
Let's send this over to Montana. Let's start there.
So they're going to recommend, don't worry about any of those. Let's get away from some of those open source platforms, right? They announced the publication of an AI policy agenda with suggestions for responsible AI development and regulations. The paper actually notes that government AI policies are independently formed around the world and calls for a cohesive AI agenda that strikes a balance between, says they, protecting against harmful outcomes while getting out of the way of innovation. Google writes, getting AI innovation right requires a policy framework that ensures accountability and enables trust. We need a holistic AI strategy focused on 1, unlocking opportunity through innovation and inclusive economic growth, 2, ensuring responsibility and enabling trust, and 3, protecting global security. A cohesive AI agenda needs to advance all 3 goals, not any one at the expense of others. Okay, that sounds completely diplomatic and so safe, right?
Oh, if only that was the case.
Oh
I
my
am
gosh.
super cynical and skeptical about it. I do feel that it is, again, it's a little bit of gesturing from Google so that they can be seen to be the good guys in this very highly charged new era of large language models, deep learning, machine learning, etc. And people are a little bit scared of it. It's something new. Again, we were speaking earlier about it's difficult to get people to change. But in this case, change is being forced on them. So I can see Google's point in saying, hey, let's have some structure. AI isn't so scary. It's not Skynet. And yet, they're really working hard towards the day when Skynet will come about. We were talking off air about the fact.
You said it. I mean, literally, we're playing Skynet bingo at this point in time. Almost every episode we're mentioning Skynet.
Happen?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, sorry, as you were.
I do get it. They basically want to say, please don't stifle us. Look, we're regulating ourselves, much like the tobacco industry and the alcohol industry.
Nice analogy. Absolutely. That's great. That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, they'll get ahead, and they'll also lobby the crap out of this and position this agenda as altruistically as it possibly will be, but it will continually benefit big tech and explicitly Google in its AI development, right?
Exactly, especially when we look at, the failure of that most recent search engine failure of Neva. The big tech giants stand to gain a lot, and they can effectively squeeze out smaller competitors by saying, oh, but look, we're being so altruistic, and we really tried to make it fair, but oh dear, you didn't have the funding to get it done. Sorry.
And I'll get your little dog too. I mean, literally, you're right there, so I had to go. Understood. Well, the fact of the matter is that the AI wars are beginning right now, and these are the first volleys that we're experiencing. There's a heck of a lot of small companies that are going to get mashed up in this, and that's the investment risk that companies have. I mean, there's so many AI tools that are exploding right now on the map, and I was just doing some research, and we do have an AI gauntlet to run through here real quick. But before anything else, the fact of the matter is that you now have to, as a consumer, as well as a digital marketer, know where those lines are being drawn and what you're actually investing in as you vote with your behavior in this space, because it's going to fuel a heck of a lot of action. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yes. Our personal data and our person is one of the most valuable commodities out there, and it's up for sale because it's ad money. If you know how to target me better through deep learning, you're going to get more sales out of me,
Yep.
just like AliExpress does. Great.
Oh, all right. Long on the tooth here, but let's jump into it. AI, because we're continuing doing it. That was an AI piece, but OpenAI CEO on AI Oversight, from disinformation to data privacy. He's actually participating in the same space. There's a Judiciary Committee hearing with lawmakers and AI experts, and Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, was there. Basically, we're talking about oversight highlights, the promises and the risks associated with artificial intelligence are right there. The CEO emphasized the need for responsibility from companies alongside governmental interventions. The policymakers that were there recognized the complexity of AI. Exactly. They recognize that. Can you track me? If I go over here by my colleague, can you track me over there? Sorry, that was a throwback to a wonderful hearing that they had a few years back. And the need.
Was that guy from Montana?
I think he was. The need to educate further and educate themselves before establishing regulations. That couldn't be the most important sentence that was said. Policymakers have to educate themselves before they actually enable regulations. My gosh. It's like a divine moment.
Almost
there.
Responsible. Whoa. We're not used to government being responsible. That might actually be the most responsible thing any government has ever done in the history of governments.
I bet an AI bot actually wrote that. They wouldn't have said it themselves.
No, never. No, it's the AI bot hoping that this is what might come of responsible government.
Summarize this position for me, and then AI starts inserting its will. OpenAI actually launched the free ChatGPT iOS app. iOS, not Droid. Sorry about that, Jacob. But if you haven't tried it out, go ahead and try it out. It's right there at the palm of right there in your palm. So what could go wrong there? And we were talking about somebody using AI prompts for how to talk to a date, right? Yeah, exactly. If you see your date be looking under the table, right? Well, they could go two different directions, but
well, yeah, I don't know. If I'm a girl looking under the table, the guy might take it the wrong way. But if a guy is looking under the table, I'm going to be wondering what he's gaming on. Like, is this a critical moment in the game on TV, or is it like Call of Duty or something, and he's like in a multiplayer situation where if he's not there, they all die.
It's important. It's an important battle. All right, here's another article. Check this out. Just like they just rolled out the app on the Apple Store here, Apple restricts employees' use of ChatGPT, joining the other companies wary of leaks. The iPhone maker is concerned workers could release confidential data as it develops its own similar technology. So there's another AI war signal right there, is that, yeah, you can get it on our system, but none of you Apple employees can actually use this because we don't trust it.
Yeah, I think there's Samsung actually, if I'm remembering correctly, not that long ago, an employee uploaded a bunch of data in order to get the model for testing out of the learning model, and it did a very good job of the testing. However, because it is an open system, that Samsung confidential data was then part of the training data and now available to everybody who used I think it was GPT-4 rather than ChatGPT. And so all that confidential data is now mixed up in the learning model. There's no way to extract it. And that's part of the reason why we do need some smart regulation, not regulations as in government regulations, but smart policies and guidelines, let's say, on uploading data because of that happening. So I understand it. I get why Apple's restricting it because that happened, but also.
Well, as soon as AI
weird.
starts writing itself in code, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to say it.
Don't say it.
It is scary. It truly is scary so you're going to have some sort of policing of generative code if it actually is inside of different GitHubs and different open source environments, because that also could creep its way into something malevolent. All right.
Who do you think will be the first governor to ban ChatGPT or AI? Will it be Montana, or are we going with another state?
Probably Florida. Probably DeSantis.
Makes more sense.
All right, a couple of quick tools. We always want to end with this here. BytePods AI generated daily podcasts. No, you should actually join us here, not over there. But it's literally a summarization of news of the day in a 4-minute podcast. That's amazing.
I get it. I've seen it before and will see it again, I'm sure. It's nothing new.
Nope.
Sorry. I'm quoting someone not new. But it's an interesting iteration, but it doesn't take the dictation well. If you listen to the most recent one that's up there, it's a little old. It couldn't handle 1.5C. It thought the point in 1.5C for Celsius was a full stop rather than an indication of a fraction.
Oh, okay.
And so the reading model has to be more adaptive to something like a fraction versus an actual full stop. And there was no space. So I feel like it should have been trained on the fact that you need a space for it to actually be a full stop. But it's fun. And I think it's a great technology that's fun, but it will never replace you.
I'm figuring out that there's going to be like a caste system of training levels for these different generative applications. You're going to have a lot of different, lower quality training processes, and then you're going to have drunken generative training where the coders decide, okay, let's just do something to see how bad it could be. It could be rolled out there, and they just have drunken prompts the entire time. How about that?
What's the worst that could happen? Never, ever follow through on anyone that says, well, let's do this. What's the worst that could happen? Just step away and say, beer. You know what? I hear my mother calling.
Hold my beer. Those fabulous last statements. Okay. Let's swing this around. What the best that could happen for you is joining Inlinks. Inlinks is a fantastic sponsor of Edge of the Web. Did you know that entities play a major role in how search engines understand and rank content on the web? Optimizing your content solely for keywords is a thing of the past. Now's the time to add entities into the mix and reach higher rankings by using Inlinks, an award-winning software in entity SEO. Go over to edgeofthewebradio.com/Inlinks, INLINKS today to claim your free Inlinks account and start creating content that will outperform your competitors. All right, last thing on the list, Berry Blast, Berry Bonanza, whatever, there it is. I think you're adding pictures every time now.
That's the same from the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yep. You're just watching it more.
I was just saying, is this new? Is this new? Is this? There we go. All right, on deck. Last 3 articles here, and thanks for everybody staying this long, including Judith. Check this out over at Search Engine Roundtable by Barry. Microsoft Bing cars for sale adds a no accident label on search. Now Bing is showing a green label named No Accidents for Cars. They can verify have no accidents reported for that VIN. It was spotted on Twitter, and Barry said he could replicate this on some of the browsers. So interesting enough, this was image searches that were being populated that must have been coming from different car dealers. I mean, it's a dealer showcase series of photos, but it's grabbing a hold of the VIN from a VIN database and throwing that on the actual search screen itself in a visual search. So, we've had Carfax before, but now Bing is getting in front and actually grabbing hold of that VIN and helping the consumer navigate those photos before they even get to that dealer website, which could make promises of no accidents.
I love it. I'm in love with this because it is so helpful for the end user.
Absolutely.
I've shopped for a car before, and there's no guarantee. So, we're SEOs at heart, where we like to play around with stuff. And while we wouldn't necessarily ever put somebody's health or life at risk,
Hmm.
we might play a little fast and loose with the schema. And this is something that you can't play fast and loose with because it's the VIN and it's associated with the car.
That's right.
So it's the truth rather than what we have artfully described as being the truth, whether it is or not. We'd like you to believe it is.
Wow. Did you hear how she put that? That was amazing.
My dad's a lawyer. I'm very careful with my words. He just died a little inside, realizing that I will never be a lawyer. But it's so good to see a search engine doing something like this
Yeah.
that is actually helpful for people's health, happiness, life, etc. I know Google says they do, but this is a genuine iteration of something that's helpful.
And yeah, and doing good. Absolutely. Because there are those other scenarios where rebuild titles, if you ever come across the phrase title rebuilt, that is a flooded car, and they don't have to reveal that information. You have to be able to pin it down by VIN. There are certain loopholes that they can actually get through that allow dealers to sell something that and they don't have to actually reveal pieces of information there.
Do you guys think that a change like this can cause there to be a bigger gap between identical cars, one having accidents, one not? Because it may be something that like I notice, but if I find out it's a feature that I can now search for,
Right.
if it's in my budget to go ahead and get a car that has never been in an accident, I'm going to do that.
Right.
So do you think that kind of helps create a larger span between those two price points?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to go. It's going to go better for the actual dealers because they can proudly proclaim that and demonstrate that it's a distinctive separation on the search.
Sure.
So Google needs to get into that as well. More and more advocacy for the consumers like that. Speaking of Google, another article from Search Engine Roundtable. Google tests new product details and links in web search. Google seems to be testing an updated user interface for the product and shopping results in web search. You can actually see the visit website and view details link and ongoing expanding price details interface in the test. This was spotted by Punit, who posted some of the screenshots that we're showing here on Twitter. You can now see the links on the right-hand side, and when you click on those, Google overlays that dialogue section. So that's interesting. More and more, and you're going to start seeing these citations, these additional references. This is monetization right here, and this is a big deal for Google actually to take you away from that shopping transaction that clearly, that cleanly. Then you can actually see them starting to train the consumer on another level of trust as it gets into ChatGPT and these other visual interfaces. We're all clamoring around for citations and reference points. Well, if they're doing it right here in visual, they're already geared up for that. Judith, what do you say there?
I really appreciated it. And when I saw that it would take me out and show me what the shipping cost was, as somebody who has been like, hey, that's really an inexpensive price. Oh, but they're charging me $50 in shipping, where everybody else is $2.99.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
why it's that much cheaper. So I really appreciated that. And I think keeping people inside of the Google trusted experience is probably also deliberate to try to increase the perceived trust between the consumer who's searching on Google and the end retailer who's trying to get you to buy stuff.
Amen.
So increasing trust and selling stuff and being able to compare right there is super, super useful.
Absolutely. So you're going to see more and more of that lean, just like we were just talking about what Bing was doing. Granted, it's a different type of mindset. This is transactions and shopping that aren't as nearly as lethal as cars that have been in accidents or not. But you're starting to see that more helpful roadmap happening there when it comes down to links and reference points. So that's great. Last point on our show today, over at Search Engine Roundtable, Google's helpful content update can demote and now promote content. Hold on to your hats here, folks. The other day, he reported how Google will be releasing an update to the helpful content system that can identify hidden gems deep within the web and promote that in the Google search results. Glenn Gabe pointed out that means that the helpful content system can now not only demote unhelpful content, but also promote at the same time these hidden gems. Boy, that is such a ubiquitous term right there. Hidden gems. That's a heck of a lot of subjectivity as well. Glenn Gabe asked Denny Sullivan, Google's search liaison, with this update to the helpful content system, will the system soon be tackling multiple tasks, demotion and promotion? I know in the past you said it could be explained, so I wanted to make sure I understood this correctly. Danny responded on Twitter saying the helpful content system will be working to identify and show more hidden gems on search, along with still working to ensure unhelpful content is not performing well. The entire concept of helpful and unhelpful and an entire search engine making those judgment calls, I keep on going through the political perspective of this, is that QRG and their updates to QRG have been more and more focused on news and dangerous communication, dangerous knowledge, and unhelpful and helpful actually have some of the same parameters. Now, we've been talking about natural language processing and understanding the niche and the nuance in particular areas, but when it comes down to unhelpful, man, there is a slippery slope there when it comes down to Google's making a decision on what is truly unhelpful and demoting that and promoting others that it deems helpful. Boy, we're in a talk about playing it loose. We're in a very loose associative environment now. Judith, I'll give you last words on that.
Well, I've worked in the health vertical, and it's one of the areas that caused me the most distress, I have to admit, because it was so littered with bad information that was surfaced on Google very highly. So I welcome this. I think that if you read the guidelines, they are still much more about demotion than promotion. It is going to be very difficult to find those hidden gems, as they're calling it, because you have to make an analysis of, first of all, who the author is, and then also they're talking about forum posts, really. You're going to be able to find the one forum post by the one specialist that isn't anywhere else on the internet and surface that in favor of something else. That's never going to happen. I'm sorry. It theoretically could happen, but I think more practically, we are still going to see the suppression of rankings, which enables other stuff to bubble to the top. So especially in health, where it's like they call it YMYL, your money or life. It is so important to get that information right that they can't really take risks with bubbling some forum, content that is a hidden gem up to the top. It is mostly probably going to end up just being demotion. Very little promotion.
Yep. Oh, but in the meantime, they're rewriting 85% of our titles on the SERP as well, right? So.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for that. We work very hard to make sure that people are not steered in the wrong direction, and yet, thanks Google. We really worked hard.
That should be the bumper sticker right there. # thanks Google.
With a little unhappy face.
All righty. We do want to let you know about #SEO Chat each and every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Iona J. Townsley on Twitter. You can find her. We don't know what the subject is going to be this week, but we do have an SEO Chat, so check that out. Any other information about that, Jacob?
Nope, not at this time.
Alrighty, no worries.
By the time this comes out, yes. But I won't be able to edit it back in. So.
We can drop it in.
Yeah.
We'll just overdub it.
Yeah.
Judith, any final words for our digital marketing audience?
Well, always make sure that you wear clean underwear every day, because that's important. It's got nothing to do with SEO whatsoever, but it's important. And always remember to be learning and listening to every podcast and attend conferences to expand your knowledge and be good to each other.
Wow. All right. Can we use that as just like the end of every episode?
Yeah. Well, it's Bill and Ted, right?
I already stopped.
It is. Oh, fantastic.
I already stopped recording. I thought that was the
end. All right. Thank you, Judith. It's been a pleasure going through the news with you, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun, and I would love to come back if you've got space for me.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm going to see her like take out Morty sometime at a Brighton SEO. Just kneecap.
What me versus Morty? I'll throw beer at him. Take the Wix beer and just, oh, sorry, Morty, you can't do the episode this week. I'll step in again.
Just make sure you get it on TikTok and don't watch it in Montana. Right?
Yes.
All right, so that's it for The Edge this week. Thanks so much for listening. Appreciate everybody who's checking us out on all the audios. If you think about it, hey, why don't you go over and rate this podcast.com/edge today. Let us know how we did on this show or other shows that you've heard in the past. Coming up this week is the second episode of the Martha Van Berkel discussion as we unpack structured data and schema. Please check out the first episode. We had a great time, and boy, does she know her stuff, and what a fantastic tool Schema app is. Sorry, I'm a bit of a fanboy on that one. So check that out. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we're moving content through there, little snackable tidbits on a regular basis. But from all of us over at Edge, stay safe, stay well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.